In this video, I'm going to show you how to cast on with a setup bonnet, which is really handy. There's a pattern for making this at deanandbean.com. I think this is a great first project when learning how to knit on a circular sock knitting machine. I like this kind because it has these split rings which make it very durable and easy to use. You're going to start with waste yarn loaded into your yarn mass. You always cast on with waste yarn when knitting on a circular sock machine. And we're going to feed it into the yarn feeder and just set it off to the side for a second. Then we're going to load the split rings onto the few needles right here at 12 o'clock in the center. And we're simply going to loop a split ring over the first few needles. You're going to go every other needle. Okay. And you can maybe do 3 or 4, doesn't matter. That will be up and able to be reached. Looks like 3 today. Now I'm going to take my waste yarn and I'm going to clip a weighted clip at the end, drop that into the center of my setup bonnet, and I'm going to add the tiny weight, the little half-pound weight. You need to make sure the rings are underneath the latches. So these first few, to make sure they're underneath, and then make sure that your yarn coming from the cone through the yarn feeder, that it is above the first latch in particular so that it catches. Once you're started then, you're going to keep adding split rings every other needle. On the needles that do not get split rings, make sure the latch is down. Keep adding all the way around. One troubleshooting thing to watch for is we need to make sure the rings go under the latches, which normally happens very naturally, but I'm going to force that to not happen on this one so you can see what happens and how to fix it. As we keep going, you'll see I'm stuck right here. My cylinder won't turn anymore. And it's because this one right here, this needle, the split ring was not below the latch. Normally having the weight down in the bottom of the setup bonnet helps make sure that all the split rings fall under the latches like they're supposed to. But in case your cylinder gets stuck, that's usually why. So look right there where the V-cam falls below the cylinder, just lift that needle up. If you need to turn the cylinder backwards a little bit, it's fine to do that. The other thing I would note is I'm not really worrying about using the crank right now. I'm just turning it by hand. Now right after you first make your setup bonnet, sometimes the split rings are right up against the fabric and they don't slip on quite this easily. So if that's the case, you can use a loom tool to help put them over the needle. But really, even after just using it a few times, they loosen up enough that it's very easy to slip the needles up, the split rings up and over the needles. We're almost back around to where we started. There we go. Do a couple more till we're all the way around. Now I'm going to reach in, I'm going to remove the little weight and replace it with my medium-sized weight, that's 1.5 pounds. And I'm also going to stop and check to make sure that all of my stitches knit. They did in this case. Let's pretend they hadn't. We will take a look at how to repair one. Let's pretend this stitch didn't knit. You could just leave it, and with the 2 in front on either side and the 1 behind, it would catch on the next time around, which would be just fine. It doesn't have to be perfect because this is just waste yarn, and the whole point of waste yarn is to help set up your project. But if you wanted to fix it, you could take your latch tool underneath the yarn and in through the split ring. push the tool forward so that the latch is now above the split ring, and then pull it back so that the yarn catches above the latch, between the latch and the tip of the tool. Then you can just pull up a loop and place it over the needle. Again, you don't have to do that, but you can. From here, you'll simply crank a few rows, and then you'll be ready to get started with your project. That's all there is to casting on with a setup bonnet. Happy knitting! Visit us at deanandbean.com and please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.